welcome to the show. Over 50, so what? Firstly, I'd like to thank all the volunteers who have been helping with the show this last year. Richard, Sandy, Oscar, Josh, Adam, Alphonse, Jason, Teresa. This show is a community service and wouldn't be possible without the wonderful volunteers. Now, for all you property owners out there, don't miss our first segment with the property strategist, Christine.williams. You might even learn some things to help your children and grandchildren with their property challenges in today's market. 5-minute fitness, please join in. And lastly, we're having more fun at the Prosecco Festival and chat to the Prosecco pioneer, Michael Del Zotto, whose father introduced Prosecco into Australia. Are you a financially fit family? Have you got property? Are you interested in buying property? Have you thought about helping your children or your grandchildren to buy property? Do you want to know more about property? Because Christine.williams is the leading specialist. And Christine is going to tell us all about property. Hi, Christine.
Oh, hi, Carol. Thank you for having me.
Now, how did you become so passionate about building financially fit families?
Really, it's a personal story. It was, eventually I became suddenly single, and of course during the settlement we had to sell the family home. And of course, living in Australia, one of our dreams is to always have a family home. I, being a female and not coming out with a very big settlement in any way, shape or form, I couldn't borrow any money. So to me it was more important to rent. And of course we were renting in the area that we could, to keep the girls in the same community. And along the way, you know, the dream was to get a home. So, you know, I found a block of land and yes, you know, beg, borrow and steal from the bank, but the land doubled within 18 months. And I was offered an exceptional price for this block of land. What should I do? So I went to my accountant and his words to me, which I'll never forget, was, there will always be another block of land. So I sold, and I had a much bigger pool of money at that particular time. And I thought, what can I do with this money? This will get me into a home. But I still couldn't afford to buy where we were living because, you know, prices had gone up and what have you. So I started thinking about, I'll buy somewhere else, and I did. And over time, I built a small property portfolio to a bigger property portfolio. And believe it or not, buying my own home wasn't then the goal. It was to keep and live where I wanted to live, and eventually I did buy my own home. So it was more about understanding what I went through and then having family and friends around me go through something similar. How did I do it? What did I do? And I kept on telling people, and eventually it was, well, gosh, why don't you tell more people? And I started a business. So Smarter Property Investing came out of helping people and going through everything I went through and not making the mistakes I did, because I made quite a few along the way. And Smarter Property Investing was born. I wasn't just being asked by potential clients or family and friends. I was actually asked, could you come and speak to my adult children? Because gosh, people, we do know that our children don't listen to parents, do they? Will you please come and speak to my adult children and teach them and have a conversation with them about how you've taught us to invest in property, and we've started creating wealth. That was great. So yes, I would. I'd go along and I'd talk to their adult children, and it was sort of like the light bulb went on. And then over the next few years, I was actually asked to speak to grandchildren, adult grandchildren. And it sort of blew my mind, to tell you the truth, because at that point, I don't have adult grandchildren, you know. I was sort of blown away. So, okay, yes, I'll do this, and you know, that's fine. And I did it. And I sort of come away from there thinking, gosh, this is 3 generations. And then it was going around in my head and speaking to my team, and Christine, you're creating financially fit families. And oh my gosh, I'm going to cry. And so now I build financially fit families, and I am speaking to first home buyers. It could be a first home buyer that's never got into the market. They're in the market and their parents have never got into the market. And so I'm now speaking to their parents, or alternatively parents and their adult children, or grandparents and their adult grandchildren. So I really am working with 3 generations, and I do believe that I am building financially fit families through property.
Now, you run courses for people that they can come along and get some basic information to start them on their journey?
Yes, really, the course really came out of, both of my books, Suddenly Set and then the 10-year commitment. And we took the 10-year commitment book, which, you know, goes through my complete strategies, a little bit about my story, a little bit about rent vesting, a little bit about building a property portfolio. And from the books and from that process, we've built Property Investing 101. Very easy, 15, 20-minute videos that I've created to get you on the right path about the things that you should be thinking about when you want to invest in property, whether or not that be your first home, or whether or not that be your second or third home, or whether or not that be building a property portfolio.
Getting back to your background, you were suddenly single, you've written a book called Suddenly Single. If someone watching this, because I've met a lot of people over 50 suddenly single, they've ended up with half a house, is now a good time for them to buy another house?
In my experience, and I have a lot of divorcees, male and female, that have come into my world. I think the first tip, you may come. I personally didn't come out with a very good payout. However, in saying that, you may come out with $300,000, $400,000, $500,000. It's not unheard of, and or super. So do not talk about your super, but talk about the money that you've come out with. Just because you've come out with this bulk amount of money and you may be currently renting, rent's dead money, I have to buy a house. No, in my personal experience, you really do need to wait at least 12 months before you make a huge financial decision. Now, some people will luck into another property very quickly, and it's okay because they already know how much money that they can borrow, they're comfortable with what the repayments are, they've found the property and they've gone and bought straight away. But you've just been through a divorce. Making financial decisions while you're emotionally impaired, it's not a good thing to do. So I'm going to talk about one client. Her father, you've come out with this, pay out your property, just be fine, don't do anything else. The father was giving her his advice based on his experience, based on his age, not what his daughter and her child needed at that particular time. Quite a few of my clients have gone down the rent vesting path, whereby they have stayed in the community just like I did and started investing in property elsewhere. And they're working together from 50, 55, 60. My eldest client was 63, and they're working towards building equity through property to give them the finances that they want when they retire. And it can be very different. You've come out of a family home and it could be 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, double car garage, and you may not want that now. You may be comfortable with an apartment or a townhouse. You really don't know. I believe you should be waiting at least 12 months before you make that sort of decision.
Very wise words. It's a bit of a turmoil in that first 12 months. So,
and it goes very quickly.
So if someone watching today can give you a call and have a chat about their unique situation?
Oh, definitely. Please go to my website. There's hints and tips that you can download, or, leave me a message and I'll contact you. And I'm happy to help you where I can.
Are you ready for it? If you haven't seen the show before or seen 5 Minute Fitness, get up and join in, or you can watch the fabulous Faye doing it sitting in your chair. But whatever happens, move that body. And we go step together, step, tap, step together, step and tap, step together, step and tap, step together, step and tap. That's it. And if you want to put a little bounce in, just relax and enjoy yourselves. A few more. We're going to put a little kick on the end. So, and kick. Step together, step 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 and kick. Oh yeah, bounce into it. Put your own little bit of flavour in it. Yeah. Okay, last set. And we're going to just do a step and kick. Step and kick, step and kick, step. Now, if you can, I've got one good arm and one not so good. Chorus line. Kick, 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 kick. And take it to a clap. a Charleston. We do it slow first. Looks like this. Forward, tap, back, tap. Forward, tap, back, tap. Forward, tap, back. Then we try it a bit faster. Forward, tap, back and tap. Forward, tap. You can go back to the slow one if you like, if you're more comfortable. Forward, tap, back, tap. Forward, tap, back, tap. Add the arms. Little Charleston jazz hands. Step. Get into the groove. Now we're going to put a little kick on the end. Kick and back. Kick and back. That's it. Kick and back. Keep it going. Keep it small if you like this. You don't have to do it big like me. Yes. Okay, walking in the middle. We're going back to the 2 steps to the side. Step together, step and tap. Step together, step and tap. Step together, step and tap. Put a kick on the end. Now you've got that move. Kick. Kick. See, nice little bounce. Okay, we're going to do chorus line. Kick. 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 Nice straight back. Add a clap. Yes. And now you know what we're going to do? We're going to use our brain power. We're going to do the Charleston with the other leg. Okay. Stepping on your left leg. Step forward, step back. Step, tap, step back. Step, tap, step back. Step, tap, step back. Step, tap, step and back. That's it. Now, are you ready for a kick? Step, kick. With those little Charleston hands as well, swinging from side to side. Yeah. How you going over there, Faye? Walking on the spot. All right, back to chorus line, kick, step, kick, and clap. You've done a fabulous job. Doesn't your brain feel like it's had a workout? 5 minutes a day. Welcome to Living Life, and what's better to live life than to be out at a Prosecco Festival? A lot of us over 50 like to have a drink from time to time, and men and women often crack a bubbly to celebrate a special occasion, a big birthday, a wedding, or some achievement. But how much do we actually know about sparkling wine? Here we are with Michael Del Zotto from Del Zotto's.
Hi, how you going?
Now, Michael, I was very impressed with your thing in the masterclass today where you were telling us a bit about Prosecco.
Yeah.
And can you tell us a bit about your family history? Because that was a fascinating story.
Yeah. So Dad comes from Baldubbiadene, so Dad grew up with Prosecco on the table. So from basically, as Dad would say, from an age of about 4 years old, he's had Prosecco. So he always jokes about, you know, I went straight from milk to Prosecco. You know, always enjoyed it, and it was a dream of his to grow it here in Australia. And then in 2004, we realised that dream by releasing Australia's first ever Prosecco.
Now, I was fascinated to know, because your dad's into Prosecco, and you mentioned about older Italian men sitting around drinking Prosecco.
Yeah.
And in Australia, it's not very blokey, or seen to be blokey, to be sitting around drinking Prosecco. Can you tell us more about the cultural background of men drinking Prosecco?
Oh, look, I think it's just more about regional base. So around that region of Baldubbiadene where Dad's from, you just grew up with Prosecco. You grew up with that grape variety, and that's the variety you drank. So, you know, like, I think the story I was talking about was when I was with a bunch of Dad's friends and I'd had enough coffees, and it was like about 10:30 in the morning, and I just didn't want to have another coffee, and Dad said, well, have a Prosecco. And I said, well, it's too early to have a Prosecco. And he said, have a look around you, and there was all these old guys that had congregated in the local town piazza to have a glass of Prosecco, and it was like it's kind of just part of their culture. It's like you drink the wines of the region that you're in, and because you're in that area around Valdobbiadene that's famous for Prosecco, you drink Prosecco. Or you might drink a native red or whatever, but at that time of the day you would drink a Prosecco, so yeah.
So there's a lot of Australians that I've bumped into. I've said I'm coming to the Prosecco Festival. They have no idea what Prosecco is.
Yeah.
So what would you say to men and women about actually trying the Prosecco and why they should try it?
Look, I really think to just keep an open mind in relation to it, because some people do have that perception that Prosecco is just sweet. We make Prosecco in 5 different styles, and one of them is non-vintage, which has a little bit of residual sugar. Then we have our vintage Prosecco, which is relatively dry. And then we have the 2 that we had in the masterclass today, the called Fondo Prosecco, which is a Prosecco with its lees. It's bottle fermented. So it's extremely dry. There's no sugar in that, and it's got a hint of savouriness. And then we have the Limigrante Prosecco, which is also a brut style, so dry again, bottle fermented. So there's many different ways to make it. It's, you know, finding that. Now, if you're sticking to you stick to some, look for something that's reasonably dry. It might have a little bit of sugar, but, you know, if it's made properly, it'll have all these lovely characters of citrus and lovely delicate floral notes and a lovely clean, crisp acidity that sort of really is quite refreshing and suits our climate perfectly.
So what you're saying is that Prosecco is a lot more refined and sophisticated than a lot of people perceive it to be.
Yeah, I think so. It just comes down to how that winery would make that wine, like any wine. So, you know, you can make good wine and you can make bad wine, and like, you know, with Proseccos it's the same. So you've got to just try and find those ones that you think that you can trust, and, you know, ours is one of those.
And we've got Madeline here from Vinea Marson. I don't know if I said that correctly.
90% right. Vinea Marson.
Vinea Marson, and you are from the Marson family?
I am. So I work in our Heathcote winery and vineyard with my mother and my father. So my father, Mario, has been a winemaker for 45 years in the Yarra Valley, but moved up to Heathcote and started working in the Alpine Valleys as well because of his love of Italian varietals.
So what Proseccos are you showcasing today?
So I've got 2. Our traditional method, so that's where the secondary ferment occurs in bottle. So that's got about 10 grams of sugar that we add at dosage, so still considered very dry. But then we've also got a Prosecco called Fondo, which literally means with the bottom. So the lees that are usually disgorged stay in the bottle, and there's no dosage. So it's a wine that you can really age, unlike most Prosecco. So we like, you know, encouraging people to leave it for 1, 2, 3, 4 years to have the development of like secondary character, yeast autolysis character coming through in the wine. So that's bready, brioche, buttery character, and adding a lot more complexity.
So what would you say to men and women sitting at home watching us today about why they should try Prosecco? Because a lot of people actually haven't tried it, men and women.
I think people need to think, you know, if it's not a style that you often drink, give it a try, because it's not just sweet lolly water anymore. I'd argue in Australia we don't really do that anyway, but it's becoming a really dynamic, interesting space. There's not just, you know, Charmat, tank method, traditional method sparklings, but people are playing around with time on lees and leaving the lees in the bottle, like the Col Fondo. They're making a lot of different styles, a lot of different Italian varieties, not just Prosecco. So it's a really fun, dynamic space, and you get to try lots of different artisan producers. So a great way to experiment and push the boundaries by trying something different with Prosecco.
And here we've got Natalie from Piscini, another exhibitor, another winemaker from Australia at the Prosecco Festival. Hi Natalie.
Hello, how are you? So excited to be here.
I'm excited to be here too. How's the festival been?
Oh, it's been awesome. I think just seeing so many people interested in tasting Prosecco and interested in tasting other sparkling wines outside of Prosecco. And, you know, people know know so much about it. You know, a couple of years ago, it was just a fizz that you drank, and now people are analysing it and enjoying, you know, there's more expensive Proseccos, there's less expensive Proseccos, and everything in between.
I think you're right, your previous comment about a lot of people perceive Prosecco just to be a fizzy drink, and now it's evolved in something a lot more complex.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, there's nothing I don't want to take away from it just being a plain Prosecco, because the Italians do fabulous things with a plain Prosecco. Aperol Spritz, add some limoncello. But for those that want a more champagne or Australian sparkling experience, there are some beautiful examples out of Australia now. You don't have to buy Italian Prosecco to have fantastic Prosecco. Between Pizzini, Brown Brothers, Del Zotto, Chrismont, San Miranda, I mean, I suppose I'm a little bit biased, but if you're going to drink Australian Prosecco, look for the King Valley producers. They've been making it for a very long time and they understand the grape variety. They've planted it in some fabulous sites and there's a real passion for the variety. It's not just a grape they grow to make into wine, it is a lifestyle. And I think, you know, look for King Valley Prosecco.
And here we have Alfredo from Esther Camillo. Hi, Alfredo.
Hello, how are you?
Now, I heard that you had one of the first ever Prosecco rosés. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so about 7 years ago, I visited to Australia from one of the winemakers, which is Giovanni Camillo. We went to the races and we got inspired by a lady wearing pink, and she was drinking a glass of bubble, and we thought, oh, we should do a rosé. Look at, you know, the audience is here. And the year after, on Vintage, we came and we had Rosé Cuvée, because there wasn't a Prosecco Rosé as such yet. So we came with the first one, and the Prosecco Festival was launched that year, and we were the first one to have it.
Now, there is a lot of people who don't know what Prosecco is. Now, coming from Italy and flying in and out of Italy, can you tell the average Aussie sitting at home, male or female, about this whole culture and excitement around Prosecco?
Okay, yeah, Prosecco obviously was born as a still wine forever, and around the 60s and 70s, the Martinotti method, which is the way of making Prosecco in a tank, started. Around the world, people were looking for something else, and sparkling wine just took on. The Glera is the grape varietal, but people know it only by Prosecco. Prosecco is a town in Italy, in northeast of Italy. That's where the name comes from. Different from many other sparkling, comes from one grape, which is Glera. Champagne, for example, is a Blanc de Noir, meaning that comes from red wine or red grapes, and they're only using the juice and become sparkling in fermentation in the bottle, where the fermentation in Prosecco is done in the tank and then bottled. That's the biggest difference in between those.
Awesome, let's drink to that.
Cheers.
Thanks for joining us today. You may have been surprised to learn some things about property and about Prosecco. For more information on smarter property investing with Christine.Williams or the Prosecco Queen and the Prosecco Festival, head over to our website. Please connect with us on YouTube, Facebook and Insta over 50 So What. Keep up your 5-minute fitness, more videos on YouTube. Replays are on YouTube, CTV Plus, the CTV Plus app, and also on the website. It's our fantastic volunteers who help keep this show going. If you'd like to volunteer to work on the show, we would love to hear from you. I'm Carol. See you next time. Thanks for watching our TV show. Be sure to hit subscribe and then you'll never miss an episode. Jump on Facebook, join our group, get in on the fun, fitness, wellness and inspiration. I'm Carol, over 50. So what?